In this video, Lloyd and I sit down with Jay Tunbridge from Tunbridge Studios, who supported us with our rebrand from KPS Digital Marketing to Knowlton. And we talked through the process we've gone through with Jay, how it's all worked, so if you're considering getting a rebrand, you can get an insight into the process we go through. We've had a really good experience with you doing all of our rebranding, and we thought it would be a good idea for the viewers and for people at home for us to kind of talk through the experience we've had with you doing all of our rebranding, because it's completely new to us, sharing that process that we've gone through, and hopefully other people who are potentially considering rebranding their business can actually understand, because we thought initially rebranding is you get a new logo done, pretty much, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, I did. You probably.
I think from a perspective of not being in branding, you just think, yeah, there's our logo. That needs to look different and look better. And that was our mindset.
Once you've got your logo, that's it. You're set, and you've got everything you need. But it's a package of elements, isn't it?
Yeah. I think obviously now we understand it a lot more, and we've been grateful that you've helped us along that journey. But because we did start out, we started looking at branding, and we started working with someone else, and it was as much our fault as theirs that it didn't work out, because we didn't really know what we were looking for. We didn't know what we were trying to do. I think luckily, Jay, you helped us along that journey and guided us in the right direction.
That's an interesting story though. How we found Jay was because we'd posted kind of logos someone else had made for us. And at the time, you know, it wasn't really right for us, and we got lots of different feedback, but you emailed us a really in-depth email sharing some really insightful stuff around how you think we could position our brand and kind of make it really professional. And we weren't even thinking about going with someone else at the time, but we were so blown away with what Jay had to say and the kind of time you invested in that email, that we were like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then we arranged a meeting from there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, I think I initially met Lloyd in networking, didn't I?
Yeah.
I think I sort of, we'd had a chat about what you do and you know, where you're at and things like that. And then when I saw the post with the logos on, I sort of felt like there was an opportunity that maybe wasn't quite making the most of what it could be. So I think that was the detail of the email, was just thinking about what that opportunity was. And I think the biggest and the first point for me was actually, you know, the name aspect of it, which I know that maybe you guys hadn't have necessarily considered part of that process.
Yeah, I think we went out saying we need a new logo for KPS Digital Marketing, and our colour is green and we want to keep that. But other than that, you know, we'll do whatever.
We've ended up being called Knowlton.
Yes. And I think we've got branding and a name that fits much better with what we're doing and fits with the business that we are and that we want to be in the next decade, rather than being a business with a logo that Dan created on his first day in a spare bedroom.
I taught myself how to use Adobe Illustrator.
To be honest,
no knowledge.
I would say very good job for day one.
Absolutely.
Trying to start a business. I'm gonna be a businessman. I'll be a business.
Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Could have been Comic Sans, you know.
But I think you writing that email, and I mean, it was a fairly chunky email.
Yeah,
it wasn't a couple of lines, just sort of explain to us that you thought there was an opportunity for our brand to work harder for our business and to be much more us and in line with what we're doing. And I think we needed that to be pointed out. And you, luckily, you basically gave us so much value for free in that email that
we
allowed us to make the decision.
We've got to meet this guy.
This
like
is
to talk about it.
I think a lot of business owners can learn from that, and investing the time up front and proving your value before we'd said, we'll pay you some money to give us that.
Sure, exactly. I think it was a sort of from an outsider's point of view, knowing what I knew about you as a business, and you were rebranding, and I think that the thinking behind the name was that, you know, what does KPS stand for your customers and for your target audience, whereas, you know, the business, there's a lot of both of you in the business, and what you're doing, who you are, your personalities, the way you work, your skills, your experience, that it just sort of made sense to try and see if there was an avenue that was outside of that name, and actually by simplifying it to Knowlton, just it gave it more, it put you guys at the forefront of it, I think, which was great.
And I think something I was super impressed with was the whole process. And I think other businesses that are maybe thinking about rebranding may not really have an understanding of what does that process look like. So I think it'd be good for us to just talk through that process that we've gone through to rebrand.
Okay.
And yeah, because we were really impressed with how much detail and time was put into. You look at the output of our new brand. When you look at the work that's gone into fine-tuning every small detail and the process we've gone through, it's a huge amount of work, isn't it?
So what is the starting point for you, Jay? How do
Well,
we
I think that the initial great starting point is to have a face-to-face meeting, which is something that we did. You put together a brief as well, which is quite comprehensive, and you'd already thought about things like your brand values, how you differentiate, who your competitors are. So I think by having all of those things in place already is a really good foundation for starting that branding exercise. Not all businesses have that. Lots of businesses think they need a new logo and that's it. But actually, I would, if you hadn't have had that, I would have helped craft some of those things with you as well. So what are your values? What are your differentiators? Who are your competitors? So that's a really important starting point, because then what that means is everything that you create is based upon all of those aspects, all of those properties. So we had a meeting. We talked about those things. I then understood more about what you're about and what you're trying to achieve what you're achieving as a business. Things like your values. You're innovative. You're fun to work with. You're trusted.
Keep going.
You're
amazing.
Link in the description if you want to contact.
It's all right. I'll take the invoice for that. No, so all of those elements are what feeds into the creative exploration. So of course, once you've got all those elements nailed down and we know what they are, you can then turn those into, they can become inspiration for what you look at creatively. So we've got the name Knowlton, and we know all of those elements. So how do we then visualize what that looks like? And it's about it sort of starts in here, and looking at inspiration and getting research and just sort of, obviously an understanding of the process already is really important, but looking at things like the K and the colours and trying to think about how a K could look innovative, how it could look fun, how it could look trusted. And so there was a whole sort of exploratory process.
This was my favourite step.
Initially.
Where the whole kind of, where you came back with a slide deck which is crazily comprehensive of all of these different, I think there must have been like 9 or so different,
I think
even more, different concepts that you came back with, and we already saw 3, 4 or 5 of them that we thought that could be our brand.
And the important thing with that also is that you need to go wide to then bring it back in again, and you also need to make sure that you're exploring lots of different avenues. You need to go in this direction, you need to go in that direction, you need to go that way in order to know actually that one's not right. This is more for us.
I think that was really useful because there was such a range there and they were very different. It was a very broad range, like you said. Like Dan said, straight away we felt confident that we were doing the right thing, because we thought, right, there's probably 4 there that we'd be happy to go with. So we definitely, and there's also 3 there that we're definitely not.
But there was enough to be able to see what we do and don't want.
Yeah, it really helped us, kind of go down the right path and know which direction we were heading in. Which, because we'd had an experience that didn't work before, we didn't want to pay out for this whole branding exercise again and get to the end and think, we're not sure if that's quite right. So that gave us a lot of confidence.
We did a sort of work in progress. I gave you a sort of a proportion of the way through the concept stage, a sort of a preview of where things are at. So I think that's really important, because that gave you guys the chance to be involved in the creative process rather than at the end and go, here's your logo, it's done, here's your brand. So it meant that you were able to feedback, provide your thoughts, ideas, in order to craft the final outcome.
It gave us confidence in you. We're investing in this, and it just that step gave us confidence that what you're doing is going to work for us, didn't it? And it
definitely.
And then from that, we then came back it was very difficult for us because we basically loved loads of them. But we had to then think, right, which, I think it was it 3 or something? We then said...
I think my suggestion was let's choose 3 of these to take further forward, refine, evolve them, test them out a little bit more, explore what they look like on a business card, on a sign,
that really helped
on
as
the
well,
website.
on the van and stuff, because we've got a van we're rebranding. You purposely put them, not just like stuck them on, you made it all look fancy and stuff. And
I think the point of doing that is that a logo is never seen in isolation. It's always going to be seen somewhere on something. So if you're just looking at a logo on a screen, that's not a true representation of that brand in action. So you need to see it in print, digital environment. They're
and
really
I think that was really helpful, because there was actually, with the initial concepts, there might have been a couple others that in isolation maybe I preferred, just on a screen there, I preferred how that looked and that kind of thing. But what you did by showing us, real world kind of situation of where that logo is going to be digitally and in print and on the van and that kind of thing.
And I think the other thing to point out there is that within those concepts, there's a key set of attributes that you need to explore. So it's color palettes, it's typography, it's a symbol or a word mark, but it's also things like how does that logo, that brand look on imagery or with imagery, or a design system. What's the piece of the puzzle that's going to hold a business card and a website and a sign together, that's going to make it, it's not just a logo sitting on those things, it's a whole brand identity.
And I also think something you did which really helped us was, once you came back with all these different concepts and ideas, we did a Skype call where you talked through everything and you gave the context of, I've tweaked that typography because I think X, Y, Z, and it makes you think, oh yeah, rather than just send us the concepts, you actually talk through them, and I think that was really helpful for me, definitely.
And I think for most businesses, when you reach out to someone to help you, because we could have tried to create a new brand in-house. We're a marketing agency, so that's feasible, and I think a lot of similar businesses would, but obviously we wouldn't have that guidance the whole way through, and the way you explained everything and talked through why you were doing things, that kind of thing, it really allowed us to understand the process and why certain things would be good to do and not to do. And it was a collaborative thing as well. You were asking us questions. You weren't just saying, I'm doing this because of this. It was, we could do this or this. What do you think? It would be for this reason, and this is why it might be a good idea. And so it wasn't just you're sorting this out, we're paying you some money, and then at the end of it, go, oh, thanks for that.
It's for me to sort of ask some questions and get some answers, so that I know that it's the right journey. Actually that's not the right thing to do because of X, Y, and Z. So following those the initial concepts, we chose 3, didn't we? Which I then spent time refining, tweaking, exploring. And then and again, that was, as I mentioned before, that was showing them in application rather than just logos. And then following that, the sort of, it was down to you guys then to really make a decision on which one of those you were going to go for, wasn't it?
And it was difficult. It was a difficult decision because there was...
What's good, it was a difficult situation because we liked a lot.
It's a nice problem to have.
Whereas I think sometimes people are in the situation where it's difficult because they think, oh, is this all right? Is this what we want to go for? Whereas for us, it was, right, we'd be happy for any of these. So which is the best option? Which was a lovely problem to have.
Definitely. So, it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you might go through another round or 2 of iterations to refine it and get it right, and that's the you can't. The creative process isn't something that you can kind of lock down and say, okay, it's going to be this and that, because there is exploration, there's refinement, and then there's finalisation.
You're saying you're not perfect first time every time?
Well, I try to be, but yes, I am. Yes, of course.
But and then you refined, and the output we just love, don't we?
Well, we've come to the end, and what we've got. When we chose the concept we wanted to go for, and it wasn't even just choosing that last one and then, okay, there you go, here's your files. It was then looking at it, right, if you're going to use use the logo on these colours,
the final kind
gradients of backgrounds or imagery. We had some guidance on how to use that, but not just guidance, actually looking into changing some of the colours and making sure it looked as good as it possibly could you know,
Yeah.
in context. And I think that was just another stage that we didn't even consider, we wouldn't have considered, but was
We would have just slapped it on something.
Well, I think there's no point in just giving you a logo and go, there you go, there's your logo, and it's done. You
Yeah.
know, it's kind of it's in my interest, you know, what I do as a designer to make sure that what you've got is going to be used in its best possible scenario. And so giving you the different versions, the different formats. That's what I made
now.
Giving it in the different versions, the different formats, thinking about what you're going to put it on. Is it just going to go on a white background? Is it going to go on a colour background? Is it going to go on imagery? They're all really important things so that you get the best out of it as well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as a designer, you don't necessarily always take that bit of work on yourself. You know, people implement it in different ways, and other agencies will take it on and do things with it. So to create some guidelines in the first place is really important. But maybe we should talk about just touch on the actual final result. Could be kind of interesting actually.
Yeah.
Just to talk around the symbol itself, the K, the fact that we've got the idea of innovation in there. Obviously, the sort of innovation and growth. The colours are, of course, fun, which is what you guys are all about. You work to work with. We've got a bit of equity in the previous brand in terms of the colour, the green, but we've added two extra colours in there as well. And then the typography, it was originally quite sharp.
You rounded it a bit, didn't you? You gave us different options of rounding. There was different levels of rounding, which was...
It's amazing that little level of options of roundiness.
I mean, that's so impressive, the level of detail. And actually, once you've got an option of 3 levels of roundedness, it's like, actually, I do prefer that. I didn't know I had a preference, but actually...
Might not have noticed at first, but actually, you know, the roundedness, you know, complements the shape of the K and the elements within it.
And I 100% think those small details really, I think all of those small things along the way really meant that at the end of it, the output is as good as it is.
Yeah.
And you feel like you've explored all the avenues as well. You know that there's nothing that's been left unturned, or what if we done this, or what if we tried that. And I think that's what's important about doing all those little iterations.
Yeah. Cool. So we are very happy. So thanks, Jay.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
It's been a pleasure to work with you.
Great project. Really enjoyed working with you on that.
You did mention, we talked earlier off camera about if there's anyone that wants feedback on their brand, because you did this for us. You kind of said maybe it's a good idea if anyone out there is thinking of getting rebrand, you could give them some feedback because it works so well.
Absolutely, and they don't even need to be necessarily thinking about rebranding. They might not necessarily know that it's on their, you know, on their vision at the moment. But just the opportunity to have a chat, talk about where it's at, some ideas on where it could go, because that might sort of trigger a thought or an idea that could come to something. So always here to talk and give advice, and you know, ultimately meet new people who are doing interesting things. You never quite know where that might lead.
Well, I think you're right. You don't know where it will lead. It provide that initial email giving us a bit of friendly feedback and advice provided us more value than we knew it could have. Anyone that, like you said, maybe not even considering it now, I think it would be a really valuable insight and might make you change your plans, because you realise it is more important than you think, and there's massive opportunity. It's not a cost to the business; it's an opportunity and investment.
Yeah, definitely.
It means 6 months down the line, you know, you could be doing new things and having new opportunities because you know.
Where can people find you, Jay? If people want to,
they can look online. Tunbridge.studio is the website. It's quite easy. Or they can look me up on LinkedIn. It's Jay Tunbridge.
Sweet.
Nice. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me. It's really enjoyable.
Cheers.
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 Cheers.